AM 1430 KRGI 105.5 FM. Good morning. I'm Brian Gallagher, a guest in studio from Central District Health Department. She's an environmental health specialist. Jessica Hammers is here to bring us up to date on something that, let's see, we first learned about West Nile 30 years ago, 35, I think, something like that, at least in my memory banks. She's not as old as me, so it's all relative. But West Nile is something we need to be aware of. First off, welcome back.
Thanks.
We did have an appearance of a case in state, is that right?
Yeah, so yesterday our first West Nile case popped up out east in eastern Nebraska for West Nile in a human. Nothing around our area so far, that's good. It's pretty early in the year, honestly, because we usually see a peak for human cases in like late July, early August. But, we are keeping track of things. We're monitoring surveillance-wise of the live mosquitoes, and we trap them and all that, as well as doing some larviciding. So we kind of keep those populations down before they hit.
The mosquitoes are the primary carrier, correct? Okay. And this is something that if you get West Nile, there's varying stages or levels, I guess, of infection in this, because for some it's frustrating, but for others it can be extremely debilitating.
Yeah, so just doing a little bit of research on like the epidemiology of that, like 1 in 5 people even like notice they get sick, so like they might experience a fever, body aches and stuff like that, but 1 in 150 are the cases they see that's when it gets to serious or fatal, can be fatal for some people, just depending on the person or what they've, their experiences medically.
Are there certain conditions that humans deal with that would make them more susceptible to being a West Nile problem carrier?
I guess more as far as being aware of your surroundings or preventing it.
Well, or just maybe certain conditions, if they're diabetic, if they're, if they've had problems with some other things. Are there certain body conditions that they need to be more aware of?
Well, from what I know on mosquitoes is they're attracted to our carbon dioxide release. So I think it just kind of varies from person to person. I'm not a doctor by any means, but
she plays one on the radio today.
But, honestly, we're all giving off that CO2, and, just avoiding your exposure by keeping things inside, not going outside during dawn and dusk particularly, wearing long sleeves and some DEET bug spray, of course, to kind of keep those at bay, minimizing your risk there, as well as if you see any standing water, say like a dog bowl or kiddie pool, a tarp or whatever, dumping those things out so that they're not kind of laying their eggs in those standing water things around your home, and that's going to dramatically help.
Up until now, standing water has not really been a factor for a lot of us. However, over the last few weeks with the rain, we're hoping, very honestly, that there is more. Well, that can be an issue. So you mentioned some of the typical holding areas for standing water. Another area that could happen is like old tires, especially if you have, some that are just left over, or maybe even you use them for gardening or things like that as kind of your little fortress. But it can hold water, and all of a sudden you got a breeding ground.
Exactly. Yep. Some flower pots or whatever that's kind of sitting around getting hit by the sprinkler. You don't really think about it, but there's always kind of a nice little puddle in there, something to keep an eye on. Try to tip that up or dump it out or whatever.
But if you do need to be outdoors, she mentioned long sleeves, long pants does help. Use some insect repellent that contains DEET. That seems to be the most effective way to keep mosquitoes away. Is there another source of information, just in case people do want to try to dig into this a little more, as far as anything like on your website or something from CDC or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like you said, it's been around for a while, and there's human stuff, there's horses stuff. It's kind of out there all over the place. If you're out on the internet searching for information, obviously make sure it's from a credible source, because anybody will try to give you information. But just know that, right now there's not a human vaccine or medication for West Nile for humans. For horses, yes, but for us, no. But, call us if you have questions or concerns, especially in the Hall County or Central District area, and kind of be wise when you're outdoors to minimize your risk.
Jessica Hammers is an environmental health specialist with Central District Health Department. Just a heads up, West Nile has returned. We need to be prepared. Thanks for the update. Good morning from AM 1430 KRGI 105.5 FM.